The morning sunlight spilled through the wide glass windows of my home office, turning the marble desk into a soft glow of gold. I sat there, in a silk blouse the color of champagne, nursing a cup of black coffee that had already gone lukewarm. My laptop screen was filled with numbers, contracts, closings, projections, all the quiet proof of how far I'd come. And yet, the past had this uncanny way of finding me, even on calm mornings like this one. The vibration of my phone broke the stillness. The name flashing across the screen froze me mid-sip. Rachel. My sister. The last person I expected, or wanted, to hear from. For a second, I just stared at her name. It had been 3 years since she vanished at dawn, the day after her dream wedding was supposed to start a new chapter for both of us. 3 years since I woke up to find her gone, leaving me with her $65,000 loan and a house she never paid for. I almost laughed. The irony of it all. She had begged me to co-sign for her fairy tale, and I had done it because that's what older sisters do: save, sacrifice, and hope they're not being fooled. Now, her message sat on my screen. Lauren, I need to talk. Please. I traced the rim of my mug, my pulse steady, but my stomach tight. She was back. And whether I liked it or not, so was everything I'd buried with her name. 3 years earlier, I was standing in Rachel's kitchen, my hands wrapped around a chipped mug of tea I didn't even like. She'd been pacing for 15 minutes, rehearsing her speech, tears already smudging the mascara she'd applied to make herself look serious. Lauren, please, she said finally, her voice trembling. It's just a signature. You know I'd do it for you. I wanted to believe her. I always did. Rachel had this talent, turning guilt into persuasion, desperation into charm. She'd been the golden one, spontaneous, adored, and always caught when she fell. I was the one who learned how to land on my own. But $65,000 wasn't pocket change. It was the wedding loan, her dream ceremony, she called it. The one with imported flowers, a designer gown, and a venue overlooking the ocean. She said it wasn't just about love, it was her fresh start. Rach, I whispered, you don't need all this. You and Ethan could do something small, intimate. She cut me off with a sniff, shaking her head. You don't get it. I want to do it right this time. Please, you're my sister. You have good credit, I don't. I'll make every payment, I swear. I remember the way she reached for my hand then, her nails perfectly polished, her skin soft, trembling. That look in her eyes, the same one from when we were kids, when she'd beg me to cover for her sneaking out. It was the same look that always broke me. I hesitated, thinking of Mom's old advice. Trust is like a key, Lauren. Give it only to those who'd guard the door with you. She'd said it while handing me a small, antique key on a gold chain when I graduated college. I still wore it, tucked beneath my blouse. That day, I touched the key without thinking, my mother's reminder to be wise. But love for Rachel outweighed wisdom. So I signed. Weeks later, the wedding day arrived in a blur of lace and laughter. Rachel looked radiant, Ethan nervous, everyone drunk on champagne and promises. I went to bed smiling, thinking maybe, for once, everything would be fine. By morning, the world had shifted. Rachel was gone. Ethan too. Her dress, her phone, her ring, all missing. The loan company called by noon. My name was the only one on the paperwork that mattered. I stared at the empty driveway for hours, the silence ringing louder than any goodbye. That was the morning I learned some doors should never be opened, even for family. After Rachel disappeared, the calls started coming every week, banks, collectors, and polite voices that grew less polite with every missed payment. I sold my car first, then my furniture. Every night, I sat cross-legged on the floor of my empty apartment with a notebook and calculator, trying to find a way out of a debt I never chose. For a while, I hated her. Then I hated myself for hating her. But somewhere in that spiral, something shifted. I stopped crying over the bills and started studying them. I wanted to understand every clause, every fee, every way people like me got trapped. That curiosity became survival. By day, I worked as an assistant at a downtown real estate office, answering phones and organizing files for commissions I would never see. By night, I devoured online courses in property law and investment basics. The glow of my secondhand laptop was my only light. One evening, my boss's client, an older woman named Marian Keller, stayed late after a showing. She watched me flipping through closing documents like I was solving a puzzle. "You've got the look," she said. "The one people get when they finally realize no one's coming to save them." Marianne had been in real estate for 30 years, sharp as glass but kind beneath the surface. She started leaving little tests on my desk, a tricky contract to decode, a stalled deal to revive. When I got them right, she'd smile, not with surprise but recognition. "Learn the system, Lauren," she told me once, sliding a property brochure across the table. "It's not rigged if you know the rules better than they do." It took 2 years of long nights, bad coffee, and 0 vacations, but the debt finally shrank to nothing. By then, I'd saved enough to buy a small, neglected house on the edge of town, ironically, the same one Rachel had abandoned before her wedding. The bank still held her name on the mortgage, but after the default, the property legally became mine once I cleared the balance. I remember holding the new deed in my hands, tracing my name printed in bold. Lauren Miller, owner. My palms trembled, not from fear this time, but from the weight of something I'd built myself. I fixed the house piece by piece, painted the walls, replaced the cracked tiles, planted lavender by the porch because it reminded me of peace. On weekends, I rented a spare room to travelers and funneled every dollar back into new projects. When the real estate market surged, I was ready. 1 property turned into 2. 2 became 4. Within 5 years, I'd built a small but thriving business, quiet, steady, and entirely mine. Online, I kept it simple. Photos of coffee, sunsets, an occasional motivational quote. My family thought I was just getting by. I let them think that. Let them pity me, if it made them feel better. Because somewhere between betrayal and independence, I discovered something Rachel never did. Being underestimated is the best kind of freedom. The text came 3 years to the day after she vanished. "Lauren, I'm home. Can we talk?" Home. The word made me laugh out loud, sharp and hollow. Because the house she was talking about? It was mine now. Legally, financially, and emotionally. Still, something in me needed to see her. Not out of love or anger, but to close the door she'd left wide open. So when she asked to stop by, I agreed. That Saturday morning, I stood in the kitchen, finishing my espresso as I waited. The scent of vanilla and cedar filled the air. The house looked like something out of a design magazine: marble countertops, soft beige walls, a single abstract painting that had cost more than my old car. Every inch of it told a story she'd never believe. When the doorbell rang, I hesitated for a beat before opening it. Rachel stood there, thinner than I remembered, her once glossy hair limp and dull. She wore sunglasses even though it was cloudy, and behind them, I saw the shame. Her voice cracked as she said, "You look incredible, Lauren." "Come in," I said evenly, stepping aside. "You remember this place." She froze in the doorway, her eyes darting from the chandelier to the polished floor. "Wait, this is the house." I smiled, slow and quiet. "Yes, the house." She swallowed hard. "I thought the bank." "I paid it off," I said simply. "Then rebuilt it." Rachel's jaw fell slightly. She wandered through the living room, fingertips grazing the furniture. "It's beautiful. I can't believe you did all this alone." "Neither could anyone else," I replied, my tone soft but laced with meaning. We sat opposite each other on the cream sofa. She fidgeted with her bag, finally blurting out, "I messed up, Lauren. Ethan left. The money's gone. I've been staying with friends, but I need a place. Just for a while." There it was, the ask. The same tone, the same plea, like nothing had changed. I took a slow breath. "Rachel, when you left, I nearly drowned in the mess you made. That loan destroyed my savings, my credit, and my trust. You didn't just leave a bill behind. You left me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I know. I was scared. I thought Ethan and I could fix it before you noticed. I was stupid." I leaned back, crossing my legs, studying her. You were selfish. Silence stretched between us. The only sound was the faint hum of the espresso machine cooling down. Finally, I stood and gestured around the room. You see all this? Every inch of it came from the mess you left me with. I turned your debt into my business. Your house became my first property. Your mistake became my education. Rachel stared at me, speechless. You're rich. I'm independent, I corrected. Big difference. She looked small in that moment, like the world had finally caught up to her. So, what happens now? I met her eyes. Now? You tell me why you're really here. Because if it's to ask for another favor, you should know I don't co-sign anything anymore. Her lips trembled. I just need a chance to start over. Please, Lauren. I have nowhere else. I hesitated, feeling the faint tug of old love and older wounds. For the first time, I wasn't the desperate one at the mercy of her choices. I was the woman in control, the one holding the metaphorical key. Maybe, I said quietly. But if you stay, it'll be on my terms. Her head lifted, hope flickering in her eyes. She didn't know it yet, but this time, I wasn't giving away my power. I was about to teach her what earning it looked like. Rachel stayed silent for a long moment, her hands trembling in her lap. Your terms? She finally asked, her voice cautious, almost afraid. I nodded and leaned forward, my tone calm but firm. If you stay here, you'll work. Not for me, for yourself. I'll help you find a job, but you'll earn your way. Rent will be fair, but there'll be rent. No pity, no free passes. Her brows furrowed. You'd charge your own sister rent? I'd charge anyone rent who abandoned me with 65 grand of debt, I said softly. Forgiveness isn't free, Rachel. It costs accountability. She looked down, her mascara starting to smudge again, just like that afternoon 3 years ago. For a second, I almost softened. Almost. There's more, I added. You'll go to therapy. Not because I think you're broken, but because you need to understand why you keep running. From bills, from people, from yourself. Her head shot up. You think I need therapy? I know you do, I said, meeting her eyes. We both needed it. The difference is, I went. You didn't. She exhaled shakily, her pride fighting her fear. And if I do all this, what then? I smiled, but it wasn't cruel, it was steady. Then you'll have a chance to rebuild. But not here forever. I'll help you get your own place when you're ready. Independence isn't just something you say you want, it's something you earn. Rachel stared at the floor, nodding slowly. You really changed, she whispered. Pain does that, I said quietly. It either ruins you or reshapes you. I decided on the second option. I walked over to the shelf and picked up the small gold key that hung in a glass frame. Mom's key. The one she'd given me with her warning about trust. I turned it over in my palm before looking back at Rachel. This used to remind me of how foolish I was for opening doors to people who didn't deserve it, I said. Now, it reminds me that I can lock them again when I need to. Rachel's eyes filled again, but this time, the tears looked real. I'm sorry, Lauren. I really am. I believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to. Good, I said softly. Because sorry isn't enough. Change is. I placed the key back on the shelf and turned toward her. You can stay for now. But understand this house doesn't represent what you lost. It represents what I built when you left. Her lips parted, but she didn't argue. Maybe for the first time in her life, she understood that I wasn't the same sister she'd manipulated years ago. I'll start looking for work, she said quietly. Good, I replied, offering a small nod. And Rachel? Yeah. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you can afford to buy your own key. Weeks turned into months, and to my quiet surprise, Rachel stayed true to her word. She found a part-time job at a local bakery, then another at a small florist downtown. I'd see her leave before sunrise, her hair pulled back, apron folded neatly under her arm. The same woman who once obsessed over designer gowns was now scrubbing counters and smiling through exhaustion. And little by little, the bitterness I'd carried started to loosen its grip. Some evenings, we'd sit on the porch together with cups of tea, the scent of lavender drifting from the garden. She'd talk about the customers she met, the small joys of earning her own paycheck. There were still moments when the old Rachel surfaced, a flash of pride, a restless sigh, but they faded faster each time. One night, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $500. "First payment," she said with a shy smile. I stared at it for a long time before replying. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," she interrupted softly. "I owe you more than money. I just needed you to know I'm trying." I felt something inside me shift, maybe forgiveness, maybe peace. "You're doing better than you think," I said, and for the first time, I meant it without reservation. Later that night, after she'd gone to bed, I stood by the shelf and looked at the framed key again. The gold had dulled a little over time, but it still caught the light in all the right places. I opened the frame and held it for the first time in years. Mom's voice echoed in my memory. "Trust is like a key, Lauren. Give it only to those who'd guard the door with you." For so long, I'd thought that meant keeping people out. But now I understood. It meant letting the right ones back in, when they'd finally learned how to hold the door beside you. I placed the key in a small wooden box and locked it, not to hide it away, but to remind myself that closure doesn't mean endings. It means choosing peace on your own terms. As I turned off the lights and walked upstairs, I glanced at the faint glow from Rachel's room. A part of me still ached for everything we lost, but a larger part was proud of what we'd both rebuilt. She left me with her debt once, but I kept the house, the lessons, and my freedom. And this time, I was the one holding the key.